Okay.
Thanks very much. Okay, thanks very much. I've been wondering during these 24 hours that we've been together whether we could have done it differently. And of course, we could have done it not only differently, but much better. We thought of talking about the city protocol on the logical, from the theoretical point of view. First the why, then the what, and then the how. But obviously you came here having heard about, in the best of cases, a good idea. Probably you came here because Barcelona is very nice. We invited you, and we are very honored that you accepted our invitation. But in the best of cases, you read the documentation that we sent, and probably some of you asked what the heck is all this stuff of the city protocol? Well, we have tried to, we ourselves, when I say we, a small group of people, Vicente, Nicola Villa, Gordon Falconer, Carlos Moreno, and other people that have been working on the idea, have been working on it. And we believe in it, but still, we wanted to discuss it with a much more open community and see whether we extract the feeling that all this makes sense. And I understand that 24 hours after being under all this discussion, probably many of you still are wondering the real thing. How are we going to do it? Because all this is theory, and what are the next steps? How do we start? And I would like to talk to you about this and make some concrete proposals that, of course, will be requests for comments and for discussions. First of all, you have my presentation up there? Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, thanks very much. Okay. I come from science. I like to define things, and to define things, you have to go to the dictionaries. People have worked on dictionaries for many years. And what is a protocol? Because we have been talking about city protocols. Probably we could define what is a city, but what is a protocol? Then let's go to the dictionary. And any dictionary says that the protocol, there are two meanings. The main two meanings are a set of conventions governing the treatment and formatting of data in a communication system. Well, that fits very well for the Internet protocol. The Internet protocol is a set of conventions, is a code, by the way, invented by Vinton Cerf and Bob Kahn, that makes the miracle of communicating, making all systems available for communication with each other. But yet there is another meaning, that is the records that show the agreements arrived at by a group of negotiators, by a group of people. That's more in the sense of what we mean by the city protocol. The city protocol should be the records, the written documents that reflect the agreements arrived by a community of people interested in the development of cities. Nothing less, probably more than that, but nothing less than that. But we were inspired. In fact, Vicente was the first person I heard to talk about the city protocol. And he said to me, "You've been working with the people of the internet. Why don't we build a city protocol?" And I said, well, what has the city protocol to do with the internet protocol? Because the internet protocol is written code, it's software. In fact, the internet protocol is software. So software for the cities? What software? Applications? What? Well, we have been inspired by the way the protocols of the internet are produced and the way they are managed. How many of you, I know that there are some of you that are familiar and have been working even with the Internet Engineering Task Force. How many of you are familiar with the existence of one thing called the Internet Engineering Task Force? Please, could you raise your hands? Good enough, good enough. But only 12, 20 people in this audience are familiar or know of the existence of the most important, by far, organization in the world, by far. How many of you are aware of the existence of the United Nations? Okay, the Internet Engineering Task Force is much more important than the United Nations. No kidding. No kidding at all. I'm serious about it. Because the Internet Engineering Task Force is the non-existing organization that makes possible business, communication, happiness, terrorism even, everything that goes on the net. The United Nations are not able to stop a war in Syria. The Internet Engineering Task Force makes possible for the Syrian people to communicate with each other and to try to define their future. And yet, the Internet Engineering Task Force does not exist. So what is this guy talking about? It's a very important organization, but doesn't exist. Charlie, I am right on what I'm saying. Charlie has been participated heavily on the Internet Engineering Task Force. And everything I said, he says, yes, you're right. The Internet Engineering Task Force is the most important organization on Earth, and it's a non-existing organization. I will talk about it. The three main organizations that make possible the miracle of the Internet are the Internet Engineering Task Force, the Internet Society, and the World Wide Web Consortium. But the most interesting one is the Internet Engineering Task Force. What is the Internet Engineering? The Internet Engineering Task Force, this is the auto-definition, how they define themselves, is the main body to determine the standards that allow the Internet to function. Nothing less, nothing more than that. The Internet is not Apple, it's not Google. The Internet is not IBM, excuses to IBM. The Internet is not Microsoft, excuses to Microsoft. It's not Cisco. They do participate in the Internet Engineering Task Force, by the way. Engineers from IBM, from Cisco, from Microsoft, and from many other companies that are here, even from universities, the University of Chicago and others. But none of them is responsible for the functioning on the Internet. All of them are responsible for the functioning. The Internet Engineering Task Force has no formal constitution and no formal membership. Don't look for a place to look after the Internet Engineering Task Force. Don't look for a president of the Internet Engineering Task Force. And yet there are thousands and thousands of people working for the Internet Engineering Task Force. It is they define themselves, a large, open, international community of network designers, operators, vendors, researchers concerned with the evolution of the Internet architecture and its operation. It is open to any individual, even to my mother, that does not know a word of the Internet. If she has something to say, she would have the way to say it. If it's worth it, they will take it. If it's not worth it, they will forget it. It operates through self-appointed, deliverable-oriented, and limited time scope working groups. The working groups are the way they work. How are they made? Probably the Internet Engineering Task Force has been operated for the last more than 40 years. Before the Internet was formed, the Internet Engineering Task Force already existed. It had not this name, because the name of the Internet has not been invented, but they already were working and producing. And now they have a running system of making self-appointed working groups that works perfectly. At the beginning, probably the working groups had to be formed from top down. Now they form from bottom up. The working groups have limited time. They only have 4 or 5 months to produce something. If they don't produce anything, they disband, and that's it. That means that no agreement is possible on that. That's okay. But they try. And if an agreement is possible, then they write a document called a request for comments. Request for comments, well, anyway. Request for comments are the basic deliverable of the Internet Engineering Task Force. You are familiar with HTTP, right? HTTP, blah, blah, blah. HTTP is a request for comments. You are familiar with URLs. URLs, the domain names, is a request for comments. You are familiar with the Internet Protocol. The Internet Protocol is a request for comments. It's a de facto standard. They work under the principle of rough consensus and running code. What is rough consensus? Well, it's roughly defined. Rough consensus is not 51%. 51% is not consensus. 95% is perfect consensus. In between that, 80% is good enough as long as nobody says something important on the contrary. Rough consensus, but running code, something that functions, something that you can touch, agreements, documents, code. And since these people, after 40 years, did not want to organize themselves, the non-official motto of the Internet Engineering Task Force is, we don't believe in kings and presidents. We only believe in working code. They didn't want to organize themselves, so somebody has to put some legal umbrella on top of them because they were producing important things for the society. And this legal umbrella is the Internet Society. The Internet Society does exist in the sense, these people exist, but they have no formal organization. The Internet Society exists, is the parent corporation of the Internet Engineering Task Force, though the son was before the father. The Internet Society was created after the Internet Engineering Task Force because people inside the Internet Engineering Task Force and outside realized that business was too important to let it just totally in the open. So the Internet Engineering Task Force, is an organization with bylaws and formal membership. Whether individual or organizations, you can be a member of the Internet Society. Here there are many members. I am a member who is a member of the Internet Society. There are some members of the Internet Society here. You don't pay anything. We used to pay $20 a year, but now it's too expensive to collect all that money and then we don't pay. So organizations do pay something. The Internet Society defines itself as a global cause-driven organization governed by the diverse board of trustees dedicated to ensuring that the Internet stays open, transparent, and defined by you, by we. We are proud to be members of the Internet Society because our goal is to make the Internet really open. The Internet Society is the formal proprietary of RFCs, of the code that makes possible the Internet. And it has the mission to make it freely available to everyone, including non-members, free of charge. Then why belonging to the Internet Society if you can get it by free? Well, I don't know. I'm proud to be part of it. There are many organizations that are part of it. Companies that are part of it, others that are not. The code is open to everyone. And that's why the Internet works, because otherwise it wouldn't be here. It has been a miracle of cooperation, collaboration, community, working together. A good idea of the Internet Society is, well, there is a global organization, but there are local issues. And then the real work of the Internet Society is done in local chapters. There are more than 90 of them, and they are organized on regional basis, on city basis. For instance, we in Catalonia, we have a local chapter of the Internet Society. We are not in the United Nations. The Spanish state does not allow Catalonia to be in the United Nations, but yet we have a chapter of the Internet Society. And so what? That's perfectly okay. And then there is the World Wide Web Consortium. Is a kind of combination of the Internet Society and the Internet Engineering Task Force is a consortium, but with formal is a consortium with formal organization, with no individual membership, only companies, only universities, only organizations, but operates much in the mode of the Internet Engineering Task Force. But I would say much more in a top-down mode. So. We think we can learn from this way of working and on managing things. Obviously, when we talk about cities, what does have cities to do with computers? Well, in principle, nothing. But we humans advance much with analogies. Obviously, our field, the study of cities, the market of cities, the future of cities, the management of cities is broader, is much different of the field of communicating things, communicating gadgets, communicating computers. But yet, the way of facing the production of deliverables and the managing of the whole thing we believe, can learn much from the way the internet is managed and worked. We think that the working methodology that we should apply to the city protocol should be that of the Internet Engineering Task Force and ISO. Open, collaborative, rough consensus, and written documents. We should produce things. If we don't produce things, this is blah, blah, blah. We should vote, but not much. We should search consensus, not votations, because it's not a question of winning a vote. It's a question of saying, do you think it's good enough? Does anybody have any better idea? Okay, we're starting the road. Who wants to follow, follows, and whoever wants to be out, that's okay. But if we try to search votations and to look for two formal organizations, it won't work. It must be collaborative, of course. Everybody has to have the sense that the internet is very clear. You get more than you put on it. Like in cities, the success of cities, you know that cities are places where humans have been living for thousands of years. And human beings, living beings, are born and die. Organizations are born and die. But cities, there are many cities in history that have died. Once you put a city in a place, Rome, Barcelona, Yokohama, Pekin, Buenos Aires, is there in a better or worse condition, but it's there, apparently forever. States, with the United Nations, we have 220 states. How many of those will survive in 100 years, in 200 years? I wouldn't bet for any of them in 200 years. I would bet all the little money I have in my account that Barcelona will be here in 200 years, that Idebarat will be there in 200 years, that Buenos Aires will be there in 200 years. So cities are very successful places. And it's because there is only one reason, because we get more than we put on them. We humans, when we get together in places, we put some energy on that place, but we get more than we put on it. And so collaboration is basic, and openness is also basic. And the governance, we propose that should be that of ISOC and the Web Consortium. So there should be a formal membership of organizations, supervision and ownership of the city protocol, board elected by constituencies, taking into account the different constituencies and the like. So I have a concrete proposal. Well, so for me, the three key C's of the city protocol, 4 C's. The first C is the C of city, like the Sea of Castells, right? is the same C. I'm a little, well, the Kabbalah, I always look for numbers and letters and something. So I must have something in my history, Kabbalistic, something like that. But anyway, it's the C, it's the C of communication, of collaboration, of city, of castells. The city protocol should be built by a community, working in collaboration, and under the motto of consensus. And how we could do it? Well, I foresee, but it's up to we, the community, if we think it's worth to do it. I foresee two levels in the city protocol. The level of development should be the level of totally openness. The city protocol should be developed by volunteers. Volunteers with many different reasons to volunteer. Some will be volunteers because his or her measure told them to be volunteers. Others will volunteer because we see business in that. Others will volunteer because they are crazy scientists and think it is worth to investigate or to do whatever. Everyone will have its own reason to volunteer, but should be open to everyone, even to my mother. The working group should be open to everyone. So basically, the city protocol task force, I propose to call it this way to organize my brain, should be made up by the open community of volunteers that construct the city protocol. There should be areas on there. If we want to eat an elephant, the first thing is to cut it into pieces. I agree completely with that. We must cut it into pieces. What are these areas? It should be decided on due time. We don't have time enough to define them right now, but it should be defined. Energy, technology, whatever. We will decide it. And within every area, working groups should pop up. How should they pop up? Well, we have to, probably at first, it must be in a top-down way. Somebody from the board of directors must say, this would be this interesting. It does interest to anyone. If it does not interest to anyone, it has no interest. And probably others, some working groups will work well, others will pop up and disappear. It's like quantum physics, you know. Particles appear and disappear, and someone make a living thanks to the Higgs boson. Others disappear. Anyway, the working groups should have a limited time to discuss and to produce something, because otherwise it's talking and talking and talking and talking. If in 4, 5 months, 6 months, whatever, that should be decided by the organization, by the formal organization I'm going to talk about now. They should have a way of working. If you, in 6 months, are not able to produce a single paper, then forget about it. We will try it in due time, 1 year or so. And that's about it. And they would produce what I call CPAs. Instead of requests for comments, CPAs. City Protocol Agreements. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7. And what are these agreements? Whatever. Recommendations, standards, indicators, general informations, pointing to best practices, whatever the open community decides. Is worth what is worth. This should be drafts, to have the draft category, and somebody should decide when a draft becomes a formal standard. And this one should be a formal organization, of course, who decides. But these people produce, the volunteers produce draft agreements. And these draft agreements, of course, are published for everyone to know. If 37 people from different constituencies have reached an agreement, that's good enough. Okay, this would be the internet the City Protocol Task Force. And then there should be an umbrella organization that ensures that the process goes and that everything has a formal constitution. And this, you've been hearing the word, we propose to call it the City Protocol Society. If we have a better name, we can adopt it by consensus, rough consensus. But good enough, we think, the City Protocol Society. The City Protocol Society is a formal organization, should be, is not, it does not exist. If it's worth it, we should build it. Otherwise, okay, it has been nice, the Castells have been very good, Barcelona is very nice, forget about it. But if it's worth it, we should build a City Protocol Society, made up, we propose, of 5 constituencies. We mean 5 types of members. The City Protocol Society would not have, in my view, individual membership. It should have organizational membership. Organizations coming from cities or regions. In certain places will be regions. No states, please, no states. That's my proposal. But cities are about where people live, not what people believe they are. States are about identities. We are not talking about identity. I'm Catalan, so what? I live in Barcelona. I dream in Barcelona. I will die probably in Barcelona. I love in Barcelona. My children go to school, went to school in Barcelona, and so and so. I am Catalan, I'm proud of it, but you are from India. That's perfectly okay. You live in Idebarat, that's something that binds us together, because you have the same problems that I have, and then it's about cities, it's not about identities. So, cities or regions, but no, please, no states. That's my proposal. If you believe that states should be, that's perfectly okay, I will join. Industry, of course, those are the ones who make the money out of all this business, and that's perfectly okay. Academia, the people interested in researching the whole thing. Organizations, the different ways of looking at things, whether from the technological point of view, whether from the small cities, whether from the large cities, whether from whatever. And civil society. It's not been, well, we are citizens, but this one is a difficult one. How we accept civil society, but we should do it, otherwise we are enlightened despots, and the revolution will sweep out. But the revolution will come. But first come the enlightened despots. Right? That's what history. We are enlightened despots, but we should open to people, otherwise the revolution will sweep us all. So 5 constituencies. This would have a general assembly, 1 organization, 1 vote, like the United Nations. In this case, for me, the model is perfectly okay. And this General Assembly should elect, here I put 16, is just to put a number of trustees, directors, or whatever, elected by constituencies. Here, for instance, I make an initial proposal, but later on we will make a more provisory proposal. But I think that here cities should have the lead. There should be more directors from cities than from industry, probably. Well, this must be discussed. But these people would be the board of trustees of the organizations and the responsibles for managing these organizations. By the way, these people should help to elect, along with people from the task force, the ones who do the job, and a steering committee that manages the working of the Internet Engineering of the City Protocol Task Force. As you see, it's not an invention. I'm not inventing anything. I'm just copying what has been working for 40 years. believe it or not. And it works. Will we be able to make it work? I don't know. But it has worked for the internet. Our proposal is copy, innovate a little, and then give it a try. So this is how I foresee. Of course, this steering committee are the ones who say the draft documents coming out from working groups put the stamp of city protocol. And a document goes from draft to official city protocol when this steering committee of people knowing what they do says that goes from draft to officially city protocol. Well, this is a sketch, obviously, but that's the way we foresee it. To end up, I announce that we, when I say we, the people that have been leading this thing, will be a formal proposal of a first, the very first city protocol agreement, city protocol agreement number 1. We are going to distribute this document among you before lunch so that you can read it, discuss it, making up your mind whether you join it or not. It's open. Probably it can be better, but it will go on the following lines. Well, the authors will be the undersigning. The type of agreement is a recommendation. Obviously, it's not a standard. If we come out in 2 days without a standard, we would be Einstein, right? The date is the date of today, and the status is a draft. It's a draft document. And the first agreement of the future city protocol, of course, now we have not a formal organization yet, we have not a formal structure yet, but we can decide whatever we want. And it goes along these lines. We, the undersigned, having participated in the first workshop on the city protocol in Barcelona, I guess nothing to discuss up to now, July 16 and 17, I guess today is 17, make the individual, it should read individual statement to declare ourselves an open community interested in the development of the city protocol and hereby agree. I'm not going to discuss it. I'm just reading to you. We will pass it to you so that you can make up your mind if it makes sense or not. First, that the endeavor of establishing an open process of agreements endorsed by an open community related to the development and management of cities should be further proceeded by representatives of cities, industry, academia, organizations, and civil society. This is, we agree that this, whatever this means, makes sense, should be proceeded. We call this endeavor the city protocol. Good enough definition. Not good. I like more precise definition, but I don't have anyone that is better. Second, that by open process, we mean that every individual and or organization should be able to participate in this process, with the only restriction of its goodwill to collaborate in the development of the city protocol. By open community, we mean that clear rules of membership should be established through which any willing city, company, research center, institution, or organization should be admitted to the community. The deliverables of the open process of agreements in the form of written documents, the future CPAs, should be owned by the community and made fully accessible to everyone through publication. The very same model of the internet. The requests for comments are owned by the society, but they are open to everyone, they are published. The society takes care that they are open to everyone and they are published, no matter who has participated in them. Third, that we commission a provisory board of trustees to lead this process until the constitution of a formal organization that we agree to call the City Protocol Society, which will be openly announced in less than 6 months. in 6 months, we should have a proposal for the formal constitution. These guys that we commission should have a proposal for the formal constitution of a society. The City Protocol Society will substitute the informal community. We, the community, disband as is the City Protocol Society who's going to lead the whole thing, but somebody has to start. But the City Protocol Society will substitute the informal community that we have hereby constituted and will assume the leadership and ownership of the City Protocol. This provisory board will be made up by a provisory secretariat under Mr. could be Mrs. From the City of Barcelona. The City of Barcelona is fully committed to put energy on this. If nobody follows, we'll be alone for 1 month or 1 week, and then we will go home. If somebody follows, we commit ourselves to put the energy for these 6 months of the process of constituting in an open process. And the following group of people, XXXXX to define. Fourth, that the decisions by this board be taken by consensus and made available to the community. The board will take all steps to ensure the possibility for any member of the community to be able to make proposals and/or comments in the process of building the City Protocol. This board is the commission of being open during this process. Everybody has to have the means to send them proposals, comments, indications, or whatever. Finally, that we commit ourselves to openly disseminate the content and spirit of this agreement inside our institutions, as well as among other partners that might be interested in joining the City Protocol and/or the City Protocol Society, thus ensuring the openness of the whole process. I believe that we could come out with something like this. Like Groucho Marx said, these are my ideas. If you don't like them, I have others. We will print this proposal of agreement distributed among all the participants of this forum and ask you to individually sign it. Whoever wants to put the affiliation can do it. Whoever does not want to put the affiliation, because I don't know if my mayor will tell me something. My company, the lawyers of my company, what would say? My organization, well, I've just been elected. My university, the dean will. It's okay if you sign individually. If you don't want to sign, we understand it. I mean, there is no. Myself, as I will sign Manuel Sanromà, City of Barcelona. If nobody follows, okay, that will be it. If somebody follows, we will try to do our best together. Later on, we will make a more concrete proposal of the people that we think that we could lead the gang in the next 6 months, but that's about it. Thank you.